In Star Wars, there's countless examples of characters who seemingly die, but then they come back. Sometimes they come back, slimy and naked. Looking at you, Dark Empire Palpatine.
Or half.
Sometimes they come back with spider legs. Who's to say? Who's to say that she doesn't have spider legs? But she's definitely not slimy and naked. In fact, she looks totally normal, and you can hear her laughing. That is, we have back from a 6-month hiatus after having moved to another continent. We have with us someone who we accidentally described on the show as is no longer with us a number of weeks ago, which then resulted in us trying to dig ourselves out of the hole and say, no, she's alive. She's perfectly alive. She's fine. We talk to her all the time, a little bit every now and then. We just accidentally described her as no longer with us. She is now here for an hour with us, the wonderful, the lovely, the spider-legged Emily Dayback.
Yes, to set the record straight, I am alive. In fact, I'm not deceased. I'm not slimy and naked, and I do not have spider legs. I'm just totally normal, just in a different time zone.
But now
I'm in Ireland, y'all.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Awesome.
So we moved here back in July.
Let the record reflect. Me and Freddie never said you were dead. That was Jared.
I know.
Digging himself out of the hole.
I cracked up for like a solid 15 minutes when I heard that part of the episode. That was the funniest thing. Yeah. No, here we are in Ireland in the rainiest summer that anyone has ever remembered. It's been cold and rainy since we arrived in July, and it's just a dream. I mean, it's everything that you think Ireland is.
Green.
And even more. We've accidentally stumbled into live music and pubs, pints with the lads. It's been great.
How about sheep just everywhere? Or?
They're everywhere. Oh my gosh. So it is like, I bet you could play a drinking game, not in the car, but you could play it like every single time we leave the house.
Emily brings her toothpick holders with her, it seems.
Yeah, it looks like she froze there for a second. It's probably that cold rain. She'll be back with us momentarily. Now, I wonder, do you think the sheep are also redheaded and play the bagpipes?
That's a good question. We will have to ask Emily when she comes back.
I love that she was with us for 30 seconds.
Yeah, that was it. Sorry, everybody. That was Emily's.
You got proof of life, and that's it.
Yeah, the sheep took her out for slandering them.
That's right. They cut that intercontinental broadband cable. That's what they did.
Something like that.
Well, we'll get her back
underneath the ocean.
We'll get her back here in just a second. I am very excited for us to be talking about a book that, quite frankly, the fans, the people, the masses, they have been for years clamoring for us to cover this on Legends Look Back, to which I have said, no shot, bro, and not a chance, and there's no possible way. Or we'll get to it one of these days. Well, that day is today. We're doing it. And that is mostly because Rick and Emily were both just by chance reading it at the same time. And I said, it is time.
It is.
Yeah.
So we are going to be talking about, what is it?
Heavily contested book. It's a heavily contested book.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not many who are right smack dab in the middle of liking this book or disliking this book, right? It's vehemently dislike it, or I don't see what you guys are talking about.
In fact, the pre-show banter was getting heated, and we said, save it for the show, which we have done.
And we're doing, drum roll, everybody. There it is. We are talking about I, Jedi by Rick, our favorite author.
Michael A. Stackpole.
Yes.
Who is lovely, by the way. And if Mr. Stackpole does end up catching a little bit of the banter about the show, let it be known that meeting you in person was lovely. And I personally love the Rogue Squadron books, love the New Jedi Order duology you did. So this one, we'll talk about it more in just a second. So, guys, without further ado, let's start the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Lookback, proudly part of the Utini Podcast Network. This is a Star Wars books podcast for people who are definitely not too sleepy after too many Thanksgiving leftovers. Do they even have Thanksgiving in Ireland? We'll find out in just a minute, where we celebrate our rich EU history as well as dive into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and I'm joined, once again, by the wonderful, the lovely, but not as exciting this week because he's not our special guest, Freddie C.
Yeah, unfortunately, not the special guest this week. And it's not even Rick. It's somebody that you may have heard just a blip of during our intro. Right. And I think we should pass that mic off to that person.
That's right. Let's hear from the now Irish, redheaded, playing the bagpipes, Emily Daybeck.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, I'm here. Can you even see me right now?
Camera's not working. Yeah.
The camera's not working. Of course,
we hear you.
This is Rick's top tier ventriloquist voice of Emily, in case you couldn't tell.
This is like classic.
Hey, okay, we see something now.
Is.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Selfie. Just hold the camera in your bare hand the rest of the show. Shaky cam like the Bourne Identity movies.
Oh,
while she gets that all straightened out. We're glad to have you,
back.
Emily. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, they don't actually celebrate Thanksgiving here, but we were able to host a couple of people from Mike's course that he's in.
Oh, cool.
And so we were able to have it at the officers' mess at the Curragh, and it was lovely. But I didn't realize that I forgot to tell everyone else that it's a very casual event, and Irish people dress up to the nines for everything. Sure. And so I roll in like black jeans, a red sweater, and like literally rain boots. And I'm underdressed by like leagues from everyone else in the room. Everyone else was like tuxedos? Wearing like full monocles. Christmas, like, yeah. Like there's a dress code. In fact, Mike accidentally wore shorts to one of the dinners, and it's not allowed. Like you can't wear shorts. You have to wear like full on trousers with like.
Man, he was showing his leg guns out. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, he texted me in a panic. He was like, "I'm not allowed to wear shorts," and I was like, "Oh no, you're just gonna have to like up your personality to like a 10, because like you just have to own it now."
Yeah.
So I tried to own my black jeans, and the biggest mistake was the wellies. I just showed up in rain boots and definitely should have worn normal shoes.
Well, the good news about this podcast is we don't care what shoes you're wearing, because I'm still convinced that she's got spider legs down there, guys.
Hey, orange
You'll never
Crocs
know.
for me.
Oh no!
Nice.
Put those things down, Rick. No, don't you ever show your feet on the show.
Dogs are out.
I'm just wearing Adidas slides.
Nice.
Moving on.
Not as cool as you guys.
Now we're gonna see his face, but not his feet. Thankfully, our producer. Rick Grace?
Yeah, nothing really going on with the face, so I'm here.
For our audio listeners, we're looking at Rick's hot, steamy feet right now on the camera.
Yep, just the feet.
Patreon only.
I think Jared's about to throw up or spit up or
just a little bit of vomit in my hand. Wipe that off.
Oh boy.
Woo, speaking of vomit, let's talk about the book that we're going to be.
Oh.
No, it's great,
sir.
There's plenty to love. I'm just hamming it up a little bit.
Oh man,
there's plenty to love. This is, of course, Rick. Tell the good folks you love the book. Tell the good folks what we're reading today.
Yes, I do enjoy the book quite a bit. So we're talking about I, Jedi. It's a cool book written by Michael A. Stackpole. This bad boy is old. Published May 4th, 1998.
May the 4th be with Corran.
That's right. Very important day. It follows Corran Horn's adventures after the Back to War and the Thrawn trilogy, which this original cover art was by Drew Struzan. And recently, October 24th, the Essential Legends collection of this book was released. And good news for all of you who haven't read this yet, there will be an unabridged audiobook coming January 23rd.
That was a genuine gasp from Emily.
Yeah.
It was. I didn't know that.
It's going to be good. I'm about to read it again, all over again. And it's read by Jonathan Davis, which is awesome.
Ooh, nice.
So, and one of my favorite parts about this book that we'll discuss in some detail, maybe here, maybe later, is this is the first and only full-length Legends novel written entirely in the first-person point of view.
There are, like, short stories.
Yeah.
And there's segments of other books, though, to my knowledge, it's the only full-length adult Legends novel. Most likely, I'm pretty sure, with an asterisk there. And we don't have our chat here with us to fact check us. So, what we say goes.
Yeah.
Unlimited power.
That's right. Yeah. Suck it, Skooma Joe. No interrupting us this time with facts. So we do appreciate you.
Yes, we do.
Speaking of Skooma Joe,
hey!
Jinx, you owe me a Coke. Okay. Here we go. This is Skooma Joe's fan art. Skooma Juice.
Scuba Jew.
That would be canceled. Thanks for that.
Scuba Jim.
Shit.
Yeah. This is
That
pretty
is
sweet.
awesome.
I love
this
so
is-
much about this.
What this is in the style of what again? Castlevania? Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the
Man, there's
concept
so much
pretty
about
cool.
this that I love.
It's great. Looks like a Super Nintendo cover art.
Yep,
Yeah,
with the little
just-
Nintendo sticker.
Now, hey, let's talk about this. This is the fan art. We also have the Drew Struzan cover. There's also now the Essential Legends collection art, which to my money is probably the best Essential Legends collection cover. Which of these three, Skooma Joe's fan art, probably notwithstanding, we should probably put that one out because it's the clear winner. The Drew Struzan or the new Essential Legends collection, which one do you prefer?
Oh, which one's the new one here? Do I have it?
You should.
Let's see. The Essential Legends collection.
Corran is like, it's his backside. No, not that one. Just sure. Cycle through all these pictures of Corran Horn. Let's see this beautiful man. Yeah, there we go.
Goatee,
Alright.
goatee, strong goatee.
All right.
Been there, done that.
Okay.
And then
Definitely gonna
hand.
cosplay as Corran Horn. Look at him, smug.
Okay.
that's
Come on.
Look
Thumbs
at
up.
Look at. I'm the best pilot around. Thumbs up.
and what a weirdly shaped thumb. I guess it's accurate. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay. Well, you guys have seen the cover. He's looking at the Jedi Temple from behind, so you don't have to look at his
Oh
smug
yes,
face.
right, yeah.
Which
It's
of
really
those do you
nice.
prefer?
Oh, I like that.
The original Drew Struzan, though he's a legend, it's gotten some criticism for babyface Luke.
Yeah, the babyface Luke is a little off. You can it's what is that? Uncanny Valley. It's definitely hitting that uncanny valley.
And Corran
I mean,
looks
guys
like
are just so like
Yeah.
doughy.
This is midlife crisis, Corran.
Yeah, Corran
It
looks like
almost
he's in
looks
his
like
late
Luke is
50s.
supposed to be the love interest. You know?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't it?
and it's like I Jedi. Who is it that we're talking about?
Yeah,
is it Corran or is it Luke? Who's
I
the Jedi?
I didn't
Who's to
know.
say?
Yeah.
Luke
it seems
looks like
it should
Aunt
be Jedi-
Beru.
Oh, it should be Luke.
Or he looks like Grand Moff Tarkin with some eyeshadow.
I think we're looking at Aunt Beru.
The feathering is
Oh.
delightful though. I like the hair.
Feathering.
Oh, I see what
Though,
you're saying, yeah.
though back in the day, seeing this thing on the shelf at the library, I was like, I cannot wait to read this. And I read a couple pages and put it down and got back to it 20 years later. So
I do love the X-wings in the back, although
That's nice. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a nice touch. It's very interesting. Not in my opinion, not Drew Struzan's normal style of work, I guess.
now I do
Isn't
believe
it?
this was his last Legends cover,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken. No, that was the Thrawn duology, which we just
The
covered.
lightsaber's beautiful though. I love the way that's drawn.
Yeah,
That's very
yeah.
classic.
And
It looks just like a flashlight, man. It's just a flashlight. I'm looking at the hardcover right here.
Well,
it's just I've got one of those in my windowsill
That's-
downstairs.
that's how they originally looked in the film, though. They were white with a color emanating around the white.
Yeah, this is just a flashlight. Also, Luke definitely has a butt chin on this, big time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can
I-
eat your Lucky Charms in that.
Oh no.
Moving
Oh,
on.
I can't unsee that.
But can we
Moving
talk
on.
about the embossed letters and this era of Star Wars books, like
Oh,
the
yes.
shiny reflective raised letters on the paperbacks?
Oh,
So
the
good.
gold.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Classic.
there's no beating that. So,
Nope.
I'm excited for us to talk about this book. It's going to be a spicy one, guys. So, this is your
Spicy.
spoiler warning. If you have not yet read I, Jedi, now's your chance. Or not, but you can if you want. Now's your chance.
You should, especially with the audiobook. You probably should.
Yeah, I'm
Ooh,
excited
yeah.
for that. And you can get your copy over on utini.com. Click on the release schedule up at the top bar there, and then you click that little Amazon thing, and we get 4% of the sale. Not us personally, but someone somewhere gets 4% of the sale. So helps keep the company afloat.
And Amazon gets the rest.
That's right. Boy, do they ever. So let's get into the summary. Hey, by the way, guys, as I start to read this, I was writing the summary yesterday afternoon. I learned a new vocabulary word. In fact, I learned that the way that I had been spelling and saying one particular vocabulary word has been wrong for 30 years.
Interesting.
And the word is swashbuckling. I thought it was squashbuckling in the spirit of Thanksgiving, having some pumpkin pie here.
Squashbuckling.
I typed it.
And I can't wait. We're gonna have a whole Thanksgiving meal of all of Jared's mispronunciations. Some swashbuckling with chives. This is great.
Why is this thing underlined? It had that little red squiggle, and I was
my gosh,
get that red squiggle out of here! And I go back and click on it, and it tried to put a W over my Q.
Jared.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. For the Utini lunch or dinner that we're gonna host, we're gonna have some squash buckles. And we're going to have some chives on the side.
That's right.
That's going to be the Legends Look Back touch to the whole dinner.
And some virgin alcohol for me.
Yes, there you go.
Let's get into it. Here we go. After his squashbuckling adventures as a Corsec officer, hooking up with the Space Otter, giving love advice to hotshot pilots, liberating Coruscant with Rogue Squadron, being strapped naked to a chair by Ysanne Isard, rubbing his grandfather's medallion, staging a prison break from the Star Destroyer, and discovering his Jedi heritage, the adventures are far from over for Corran Horn. He returns home after a mission with the Rogues to discover that his wife Mirax is missing. So Corran does the only logical thing one would do in such a situation. He says, no big deal, and he goes back to bed. The next day, he wakes up, and he's like, uh-oh, I think something's wrong. So then he does the next logical thing. He enrolls in Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy, because it's probably not urgent.
Yeah.
Rick, you're up next.
All right. So the first half of the book retcons the events of the Jedi Academy trilogy, inserting... Yeah, pretty bad. Inserting Corran and Mara Jade into the events of the story this time around. So Corran is really bad at telekinesis and thinks Luke is a terrible teacher, but he can do some pretty sweet Jedi tricks like force projection and energy absorption. Long story short, Corran comes up with the baller idea to blow up Exar Kun's Force Ghost with explosives. And when Luke refuses to punish Kip Duran for the war crime of, blowing up 25 million people with the Sun Crusher, as one does, Corran, he pieces out. The next stop, the only logical place you can go when your wife has been kidnapped and you just spent a semester in an alternative learning school in the haunted jungle, go tell her pirate dad on his candy apple red Star Destroyer.
I don't want you to bother me. I'm private.
Popcorn's ready.
All right. After hitching a ride with Booster, Corran goes back to his home planet of Corellia, where he ditches the Jedi training and falls back on his old detective ways, infiltrating the Invid pirates undercover cop style. Corran plays pirate for a while, builds a new lightsaber, makes a new alien friend, and embarks on a Jedi Batman campaign, raiding pirates under the cover of darkness. He is vengeance. He is night. He is so perfect. He is Corran Horn.
Emily, finish this out, my friend.
So Corran eventually gets in way over his head. Surprise, surprise. Gets ambushed by pirates and has to be rescued by his old pals, Luke Skywalker and Oral Korg. On to the book's final boss, because it didn't have enough incredibly disjointed segments. Corran has to duel the force-wielding Jensari.
Sounds good to me.
Is that how you say that?
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
It's all fiction.
Jensari?
He gets help from all of his smuggler, pilot, and Jedi friends as they take down the Jensari, plants a frightening vision in the mind of their leader, rescues his wife, and goes back to Yavin 4 to blow up Exar Kun's temple a little more, for good measure.
Oof.
Wow. There it is. That's iJedi, folks.
And whenever
that does it for Legends Look Back. Thanks for coming to the show, everybody. What you got, Rick?
I was just saying that last paragraph, whenever the movie comes out for this, is going to have some really annoying, like, classic rock ballad playing, like terribly just one of those mood changers, that's like, that song doesn't belong in this movie, but trying to make it cool. That's what's going to happen, is like some heavy metal or rock with blowing up Exar Kun's castle.
That's what this book needs, heavy metal. I would like it way more.
That's fair. Hey, can I say something real quick,
Nick
too?
Martorelli out there, put in some heavy metal. This book's, that Corran would do it. Turn it up to 11, just like Corran. What's up, Rick?
So you don't like this book too much, but this is a really, really well-written summary. So I think you might like it more than you realize.
I didn't even. Well, I did want to give it a good shake because this book has, it has developed quite the reputation at Utini. In fact, our CEO, Dr. Corran Hilton, that's what I just said. That one was actually a mistake.
Well, nice knowing you, Corey. Nope, Freddie.
Yeah.
Nope, Jared, that's the one.
Yeah, I'm getting the boot for this one for sure. This is actually a place, probably the only place, where, other than the fact that we love the way that the Ithorians talk out of both sides of their freaking faces, this is the only thing Corey and I agree on about anything, is that neither of us really like this book.
Wow.
But yeah, I if I was going to rate it, I would probably give it, mediocre. However, there's plenty of good stuff for us to talk about with this book. And I do have a few critiques that I think would have saved it, but that's not what happened, and this is what we have. And I do know a lot of people love it. Our friend Bro Dameron, co-star of Freddie's recent Star Wars Celebration video, Bro Dameron, he loves this book. Tom from Del Rey, this was his first Star Wars book, so that's great. And I do not besmirch that in any way. It's just not my favorite. So, Rick, you loved it. Tell the good folks why. What's your rating?
Ooh. All right. I gotta have the ratings again. We need like a chart or something because I always forget.
That's a good idea. Have like a visual chart for it.
Masterpiece.
Masterpiece.
Incredible. Great. I'm riffing at this point. Good, fair, mediocre.
Okay. So say that again. Masterpiece, then great, incredible. Okay,
good, great, and then
all
maybe...
right, and then just down the road. Okay.
Yeah. I unfortunately have put it on that bottom slot.
Well, I'm gonna give it an incredible, and I don't give it incredible for the sake of its literary features. I really do like the first person, so that definitely elevates the experience for me. But this is just classic Legends. It's so weird, and it works for the era. And that's what I love about it. It's just fun. You don't know what's going to happen next, and all the different segments. And like as a reader, it engaged me so much because, like, you're right from the very beginning. You're like, why isn't he doing more to rescue his wife? Why is he going to the Jedi Academy? And so, yeah, I was engaged with it. I wanted to like see what was wrong with Corran Horn and what happened in his life,
a lot.
And so, I enjoyed it.
Here's the thing, right? It is first person, so you brought up a great point, Rick, with it being just a different perspective. You get involved in it just a little bit, a little differently, but also you see things from Corran's point of view, and you hear him talk about himself. And the more you see it, you're just like, come on, dude.
Corran loves to talk about himself.
Yeah. Yes. And how perfect he is, and how he is absolutely lawful good, right? It's tough to
the highest.
The highest.
Like he's off
he
the
sees
charts,
himself
lawful
up
good.
there as well.
Lawful
right?
good is in this corner. Corran is in that corner. Way farther. Okay.
Yeah.
Emily, what's your rating?
I thought it was good. I mean, I wouldn't say it was. I don't love it as much as Rick does, but I definitely don't dislike it. Like, it was a good book. It was action-packed. There were some problems. I think those are kind of glaring. But I feel like it was a really introspective, like, it was Corran's journey to becoming like his version of a Jedi. So I think given that it's entirely from his point of view and it's his thoughts through everything, it makes sense. Like, I mean, yes, it is a little bit self-absorbed, but like that's kind of the point. It's his journey.
Yeah. Emily, it's been nice having you. We'll see you in 6 months.
Well, so I was reading and I was like, okay, yeah. So like I've read a lot of this before, even though I've never read this book before. And then also, like, he never wants to save Mirax. Like, that's never like an urgent matter for him somehow. It's just very confusing to me.
Yeah,
like there were problems. Man. But like overall, I just thought like, okay, this is action packed. Like, there's stuff happening, and like it's complex. Like,
it is.
He's making some decisions that you don't always predict.
No, you
and
can't.
So it was interesting.
Can't predict them. Nope.
No.
I've always wondered why they had to insert Corran during Jedi Search. During that whole series, right? Why couldn't he have just gone to go save Mirax right away, and then figured that he was likely treading on the path of darkness? I didn't see why they had to go and do all that stuff on Yavin. I felt like that was such a good part of the story because that's where he became a Jedi. But I feel like I don't know. Here's how I saw Corran. He's like, I'm so perfect. Why do I need to be a Jedi? I'm so perfect. Oh, wait. So you're saying that I can be even more perfect by being a Jedi? Okay, well, let me be a Jedi. But I want to be. And it's so hard for him to realize that he can combine all of his skills into one thing, right? And
one Megazord of Corran.
That Megazord Corran, right? He's like, oh my god, I can be super perfect Jedi investigator.
Batman.
That's it.
Yeah. I've got so much more I can say about this. To Emily's point about the introspective, it's Corran's point of view. I think that is the problem. One of many is that you need a break from this guy. You need a perspective shift. That's what worked about the X-Wing books. You spend a chapter with Corran. You spend a chapter with the Imperials. You spend a chapter with Isard. You spend a chapter with Wedge. Wedge is always such a breath of fresh air. You love Wedge. And you get back to Corran, you're like, man, this guy's a bozo, but you kind of root for him. And then you go spend another chapter in the dungeons and of them. They're melting the Gamorreans with the virus, and you're like, this is better than Corran. And then you come back to Corran and you're like, oh man, maybe he's going to grow. And so this is part of that. And I will say, I love where Stackpole takes the character by the time we're going to be there in just a few books in the New Jedi Order. So hang on to that.
So he's a dynamic character, because you're right. He evokes a response. You're like, this guy he's trash at times. Like you just don't want to like him. And so I think that's part of the good, like the quality of the book is that you do see some character growth and you see him make some mistakes. Like I love, Wedge as a character, but what's wrong with Wedge?
He's a daddy. Wedge is just he's
everyone's dad.
But he has like no character faults. He's a very two-dimensional character on that.
That's true.
He has a hard time loving, right? He has a hard time staying still and
he won't accept promotions.
That's true. He doesn't want to.
He loves his students too much.
Yeah. I mean, I love Wedge. I'm not trying to pick on Wedge.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Very fair. Yeah.
So I like it for that regard that it gives him some depth, even though it's not a great character of a person that I want to be best friends with. But
it's brutally honest because like real. There's no filter.
Right.
It's like all the thoughts that like everyone thinks these things, like, but having to read it brutally, like I'm sure like if all of our thoughts were typed out, like we wouldn't look this good either, we wouldn't look very good either. Because you always have like your gut response and you're like, okay, no, there's something wrong with that. Like, let me add on the filter of like, okay, I know I've learned this about this culture, so I can't think that about this person. Or like, I know this about men versus women. Like, so anyway, you apply all of these filters to like what comes out of your mouth. But when you're in someone's head, you don't get any of those filters. And that is kind of part of he's a bit jarring.
That's the experience.
Yeah. He's like 90s misogyny personified in one person. If it was a caricature, if it was like an SNL sketch, that's how he feels. And so,
but if you notice the things that come out of his mouth, the things that he actually says,
right,
are not always what he thinks. So like,
I'll quit dumping on it. There's plenty of good stuff.
That's a great perspective. That's a great perspective, Emily.
We've missed you.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. There's a lot of perspective there. I sit right in between Jared and Rick, I think, in terms of like in the book. I think right there along with you, Emily, it's good. I wouldn't say it's bad at all. It's interesting. There's, I guess, coming from like reading the older legend stuff and then reading this one, I was like, wait a minute, I'll never forget reading this and thinking, I feel like I read this book already, but I don't think I did. The names seem familiar. Kip Duron, okay, I remember that. But and then of course that's when I realized oh my gosh, this is a total retcon of what we read in Jedi Search or Jedi Academy trilogy, right? So part of that was a bit jarring for me because I'm like, why would you do that? Why do you need to go there? I don't really know if there's a point or a reason. Jared, do you know what the point and reason was to retcon?
The behind the scenes reason, no. I'd be interested if our listeners know, and they can let us know in the chat. They can let us know in the YouTube comments, or of course on Twitter or in the Discord. Let's have some debate about that, some discussion. If anybody knows the behind the scenes, that was not one of the things I asked Stackpole.
It's probably
I, in fact, tried to steer right around this book.
I wonder if it has to do more with Mara Jade than Corran, just inserting Mara into the in the Luke story more.
It reads like he hated the Jedi Academy trilogy and he wanted to fix it.
Oh yeah,
doesn't it? I mean, so all right, let's talk about it. Corran as a character. We'll talk more about his character choices here. Let's talk about this particular plot point here. In the Jedi Academy trilogy, the characters. This is a spoiler for the third of those champions of the Force. They defeat Exar Kun's Force Ghost. Remember this by thinking about the light side, right? They just really think about the light, and they're like, "Let's use the light." That's how it ends. Which doesn't make a whole ton of sense, but it's a very Kevin J. Anderson thing to do.
Yeah.
In I, Jedi, Stackpole says that was a distraction and it was useless and it did nothing. And what actually happened was Corran blew up the Force Ghost with bombs.
Yes.
Which I love the idea that the Ghostbusters were busy that day. So Corran was like, no big deal. I've got some dynamite in the garage. Let's blow up the ghosts.
Insert the Independence Day quote of the president. Nuke 'em.
Hey, here's Legends Lookback ghost busting services. Are you ready? Here's our promo. Got some ghosts in your house you need to get rid of? Here's our solution from I, Jedi by Michael A. Stackpole. Blow up the ghosts. Just blow them up. That's the solution. Just blow up the ghosts with bombs.
Who you gonna call? Corran.
The bombs.
The bombs.
You know, I'm looking at my notes because I took a lot of notes for this book. A lot of ridiculous things where I'm like, oh my gosh, why would you say that? Coon clone was one. They talked about the Coon clone, XR Coon clone. So the Coon clone is going to be a Legends Lookback meme coming up here soon. So get ready. A lot of interesting things like childish jokes from a childish mind, like just a bunch of good zingers. My favorite one is Luke Skywalker just straight up saying, I think you need to get rid of that goatee and that mustache.
So let's talk about that dynamic between Luke and Corran. I think that's a great dynamic. That for me is the best thing in the book, is that Corran would not get along with Luke. No. They are both headstrong, though Luke just believes the good in people. You remember from the X-Wing books that Corran always believes the worst in people. Mm-hmm. His own squad mates, he's like, you're a spy. You're a traitor. In fact, he was dating the traitor, but let's not focus on that too much.
Just skate right over that.
In what way does Corran function as a good foil for Luke?
Yeah, that's interesting because Corran is very blunt, very honest, doesn't really believe in the good in people because he's been a detective and seen the opposite for his whole life. So he's very jaded, right? That's the difference. He's very jaded compared to Luke. I feel like Luke was just a farm boy, happy-go-lucky. World was all right for him. Yeah, he lived on Tatooine, but otherwise he was fine. Then he turns out
he's the eternal optimist.
Yeah, eternal optimist. And thinking about George Lucas, right? George Lucas wrote Luke. George Lucas has a fascination with like the nobody being somebody. That's that he loves that concept. If you look at his vineyard, there's like a image of like this angelic boy sort of, and that's basically Luke personified. So I feel like that optimism of like people can change, that Naruto, I believe it, I believe you, I believe everybody, I believe in everyone. Change can happen. I think that's Luke, right? He believes that no matter how evil you can be, his eternal light and optimism is going to bring you right back into the light side. He's going to make you his friend. Whereas Corran is so jaded and he's just not. He thinks everything Luke does is stupid, basically.
Right. Yeah. Well, he's also from a very structured background, and Luke, there was no syllabus. Like Yoda gave him zero direction. He was just like, things aren't what you think, and it's all in your head, and use your feelings, and like that was totally foreign to Corran. He's from a very driven, structured background, which is difficult to translate into the Jedi.
So yeah, that is a good perspective in the fact that you come from a military background, and so you've got structure and order. And Luke, he's taken people out to a haunted jungle And
you guys
she's
figure
like,
out.
let's just figure it out.
Yeah.
Luke drove me crazy in this book. I was like, what is he even doing? Like, there's no plan here.
You brought up a great point, Emily, because going back to the Jedi Academy series, that's how it felt. You're like, Luke, why are you doing this? Like, Exar Kun? What? You could have done a little bit of research. All of those thoughts that we had, that was what Corran said. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is my favorite part of the book, is Corran and Luke dueling on Yavin 4, like the practice duel after Gantoris. It was right before Gantoris dies. Shout out to Gantoris. Gantoris was the real one. Rest in peace, Gantoris. But the duel in which case Corran is like, you're an idiot, and this is a terrible way to train students. That's pretty fun. I do like that. Somebody needed to call Luke on his nonsense.
Yeah, and like you pointed out in the summary, just letting Kip off with hardly any kind of repercussions for his actions, and I definitely love the interchanges. Even just the the few lessons that Corran learned from Luke at the Academy. Just seeing Luke teach from Corran's perspective was cool. So yeah, I don't know if inserting Corran into the Academy was necessary, but I liked it. There were some cool parts there.
Yeah, it did end up with some cool things like blowing up ghosts. That's fun.
Yeah. Hey, do y'all think that Corran and Mara Jade could have been a couple? Like, I
it
feel
seems
like,
like they wanted to. It seems like
that
they wanted to.
Relationship is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like there was
both
a point.
too jaded.
Yeah, they're both too jaded. And I feel like Mirax is and Mara Jade are so similar in a way that Mirax is more of like the pirate, where I think Mara Jade was really on the dark side for a long time and saw all of that evil, and she's like, there's with all that evil, how could there be any good? That's more Mara Jade's character.
But then she finds the good in Luke, and Luke's he's so eternally optimistic that Mara is like, you just there's nothing you can do but love him. He's just he's so uncompromisingly good. We won't talk to her about what happened in Dark Empire. Zahn doesn't do a lot of acknowledging the Veach, Kevin J. Anderson stuff. Not a lot.
Yeah.
But Emily, as from the feminine perspective, while we have it here for once in 6 months, how did you feel about the Corran and Mara Jade dynamic?
I think that they would be good friends. I think that they are too similar that anything further wouldn't have been an option. I think that they would have just butted heads too much. Like, I find, like, in my marriage, we tend to befriend couples that are like the reverse of us. So like, I am most like the man in the relationship of our friends, and then like Mike is most like the other woman.
Yeah, we're the same.
And that's just kind of how we work. We're kind of like used to functioning with the opposite. So yeah, I think they were just too similar.
Yeah. Though I do like seeing them team up in this to defeat Exar Kun's Force Ghost.
Like, they're great friends, like great allies. But I think any kind of close proximity or like a deeper relationship eventually would have had too much tension to make a romantic attachment feasible.
I think it would have been more explosive even than the explosion that they set off.
Nice.
While we've got your feminine perspective here, obviously Mirax getting kidnapped at the very beginning of the book is one of the major plot points, though she herself as a character is not particularly... she doesn't have a ton of agency in this book, which, after having fallen in love with her in the X-Wing books, kind of feels like we're robbed. What was your take on Mirax's kidnapping? Was it fair or true to her character that she would be a damsel in distress?
I didn't like that. I think that was there were two main problems that I had with the book. The first is the kidnapping. The stakes are way too high to have that long of a response. Like, if it's a kidnapping story, you've got like 3 days to a week for everything to be resolved.
The first 24.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it has to be very, very fast. So the fact that he dragged his feet so long, I just thought that her being kidnapped, the stakes were way too high. Like, it needed to have been a different crisis for that to work. Because I was pretty mad at Corran for like almost all of that, where he just seemed like totally chill with going for runs and sleeping well at night and like making friends. And then Mirax is just like a big question mark. Like, you're just going to let her die? Like, what are you doing? So
it goes a little fast at the end, right? It's just like, they found her and everything was good.
And she was fine with it. Like, boy, you've been gone for like months. and now you show up, like I would have words to say.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like if you were to take out the Jedi Academy part, remove it completely, and just leave in the, infiltrating the Invids and stuff like that, that feels more like the story.
And I wouldn't, this is part of my criticism. I wouldn't have hated no first person, none, 0 first person. Try that. It changed the manuscript. I did not like a single word of that. However, I think this could have been a good trilogy had it been one book is Luke doing Jedi training, doesn't get along with Luke, blows up the temple. That's the end of the book. Next book is he's doing pirate stuff. Pirate undercover cop book. Then the third book is Mirax is kidnapped. That is its own separate plot for one book, and he actually responds after having had Jedi training. That's, in my mind, it would have worked.
But where does
that was my second problem with the book, was just that it was way too much plot. What were you saying, Rick?
I just don't know where Jedi Batman fits in that 3-book series.
I keep forgetting about that part.
It was my favorite part. Like it was so goofy but fun, and I loved it.
It is fun.
Yeah. Parts of it were so interesting, like that weird dynamic between him and the pirate queen. What was her name?
Oh, the dominatrix.
Yeah, like that was weird.
Oh man, she was
like an uncomfortable, like then and then like Mirax has been gone for so long. You're like, Corran is like a horn dog now. Like he just needs something from this lady, and he's about to. I don't know.
That's his name after all.
Yeah,
that's
that
his
made me very uncomfortable.
Corran Horn Dog.
Corran Horn Dog. Yeah.
Oh boy,
that makes sense. Although, okay, so what were you saying earlier about the first person thing? That didn't bother me at all. I don't know why are you so bothered by it?
Corran is the most irritatingly self-absorbed character in the history of Star Wars, and
I'm pretty sure everyone would be if you were in their head the whole time.
This is the first, but he already was in the X-Wing books, and that was in third person, and you're only dealing with him in an ensemble cast as one of a dozen rogues. And this time we get 425 pages of nothing, no breaks, all gas, no breaks, nothing but you're trapped in Corran Horn's mind.
Check this out. You ready? This is him talking to a 4,000-year-old
can't do it.
Sith ghost. All right. So this is I think he's trying to goad him in something. Corran saying some stuff, and Kuhn says, "You insolent bug!" Open his shadowy arms wide. "You prattle on as if your wit can armor you against my might." Here is Corran. You ready? This is Jared. Jared's gonna throw himself back in the chair. And you think you can hurt me? I scoffed at him. This is your eviction notice. It's like, come on, dude.
And that's when he pulls out his cop badge.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like that, but I personally found this was an experiment, a literary experiment that I thought was a failure. Lesson learned, moving on. And to that point, the first canon book that did this, Heir to the Jedi, Long Live the Noodle Squad out there, that one is in first person, and I also would consider it in competition with this for the worst Star Wars book ever written.
Wow.
And so I think for me, a lot of the first person style is what grates me.
I loved watching him fight Rogue Squadron. That was the best part in this entire book.
That was cool.
Watching him not just watching him fight Rogue Squadron, but watching him fight his like mentor, not Wedge, right? Tycho, right? Tycho. So Tycho, he's like a robot when it comes to flying. He's absolute genius to flying, and to see him almost outdo a Jedi is insane. That was cool, right? And seeing that in first person, seeing Corran admit to like how genius these people are, and his friends, how he talks highly about his friends in Rogue Squadron. I feel like it was like, you should have just never left. Rogue Squadron's where you belong. He respected everybody there, that he could hear it in his tone, how much he loved those people. He respected them. That was all. And not just that, but watching him work with his group, his pirate group, right? He started off with Rogue 9. Mm-hmm. How funny was that?
Yeah.
And seeing him talk, when you heard him talk about folks that he admired, it was nice to hear him speak about those people in that certain way, right? Like those pirates. He didn't think very highly of him at first, but some of them, when he got to know him, he realized like these are some special people who are just caught in a bad place. And seeing him acknowledge that, I was like, okay, he's not just that lawful good. He's learning a little bit, but
there's definitely growth.
Yeah, you see it. You can see it, but it's tough to get there at the very beginning when he's at the Jedi Academy. He just sees himself as this like high and mighty. I'm better than everybody else.
And I can relate to that. I kind of felt that way. Rick knew me. We started college, and I kind of came in with that mentality. Like, well, they don't have anything to teach me. I'm here to put in my time, meet a woman, get my degree.
I was the same though. So like,
and I had to realize very quickly that's an attitude that's going to get me nowhere. So I can relate to it on that level. Go ahead, Rick.
I was just saying, like, I was the same way, and that's why, like, yeah, you and I were friends, but it was almost like frenemy kind of thing. And
I liked you, but
yeah. Well, I liked you
secret
too.
nemesis.
But like, I was jealous of you. You know, you had strengths that I didn't have, and so it was kind of like I couldn't be happy for you. I had to be better than you kind of mentality, like very competition driven. It felt like, which even though that wasn't really there, it just, perceived. And so I see that in Corran for sure, especially with Luke, and he just doesn't measure up to Luke, which is funny.
That's right. The very first line of Rogue Squadron is, "You're good, kid.
Oh, you're no Luke Skywalker.
You're good, Corran, but you're no Luke Skywalker."
Yeah,
that is absolutely my favorite line ever written.
This is another book. This is another book where we got to see how powerful Luke was in a way, right? With just his ability to do things like nothing, and his force powers, how naturally they came to him. And hearing about the Salamari again was really fun, right? To hear Corran's point of view of how it felt, right? He felt like disoriented and dizzy, whereas more practiced force users just feel like an appendage is cut off. So it's cool to see like the newbie Jedi come in and how far Luke is ahead, just like with Mara Jade, right? He was so far ahead in force ability. You can kind of see it here, although they kind of dumb him down a bit. Like, come on, you're just a farm boy. What do you expect to know, right? And it's like, oh, come on, Luke knows.
And what I do appreciate about all that is we're going to take all of this foundation that's been laid with Luke, with Mara, with Corran, and these are going to be the next generation. Yeah. They're training the next generation of characters in the new Jedi Order. And so you get to see Luke in a mentor role. Sometimes he fails at that. You're going to see Mara in a mentor role, and she's great at that because she's actually got actual life lessons to teach. Yeah. You get to see Corran in a mentor role. Yeah. Also in a one-on-one showdown against the Yuuzhan Vong warlord with an entire planet as the stakes. And so that's like his ego serves him well in a beautiful way, as we'll get to in just a couple of books. So my favorite part about this book is what happens in the next couple of books.
Yeah, so it's a good point. Yeah,
we've talked about the characters, talked about Corran and his decision making, and sometimes his infuriatingly arrogant mindset. Though some character growth, we talked about Mirax's damsel in distress thing. Didn't necessarily love that. We do love Mirax though. We talked about Luke and Corran's relationship, Mara and Corran's relationship. We've talked about some of the big overarching points here with the book, written in first person point of view. I was not particularly high on it. Last thoughts on the first person point of view, guys? Up or down? Great. You liked it? Two liked it?
I think it would have been even better if there had been multiple perspectives, but I didn't mind the first person at all.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I want to see it normalized in Star Wars books. I want to see them do it again, but write it well.
There's much more of it in canon, and there's quite a few short stories that do it. And I could send you. Read some of those short story anthologies: Tales from Jabba's Palace, Tales of Mos Eisley Cantina. Some of those do it to various degrees of success.
Yep.
So we talked about some of the plot points and the way they gelled together or didn't, and how maybe they could have been different books, but they're all in this one, guys. Which of the major set pieces of the book, we'll call them, the Jedi training, Corran plays pirate, Jedi Batman, or the final hoorah? Which of those was your favorite section of the book?
I'll let you guys go because mine is pretty. I don't know. Mine fluctuates.
Rick liked Jedi Batman. Is that right?
I think. I mean, there's things I liked about every part. I think I probably liked the ending the least, just because it did kind of feel rushed. But yeah, Jedi Batman was fun because it's rare that you get a Jedi story of a Jedi being like this vigilante good guy who's just overpowering his opponents, and then like that's it. Like that's pretty much the plot until he finally met his match. But it was fun, just him stirring up the dark side of, or not the dark side, the underside, I guess, of whatever planet it was, and doing good and stuff. And it was just goofy. I enjoyed
making
it,
people run into walls.
Yeah, like
Dude,
that
he
was
messed
fun.
them up like all kinds of ways, and it was awesome. Like I love when they do that in books where they like the main character finds a way to completely destroy an organization. Cause like I don't even know how anyone would do that. So it's mind blowing to me that like that was even possible. And like how also like I did think it was kind of laughable how quickly he infiltrated the organization and rose to the top. Like nobody thinks this is strange. Like no one is suspicious about this. Or it's like all these other people have been in these positions for years, and then Corran just up and like takes it all. Or was it Kieran Halcyon or something like that?
Yeah. The number of aliases
I love that
he
part
has.
too. That was my favorite. Is like how he just destroyed the pirates without like, I don't know. It was kind of wild.
I love Pirate Corran
in the shadows.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Pirate Corran because he was very no nonsense, but he was very logical in my side. I guess my point of view is his point of view was property. Let's destroy it. Who cares? Life, we're not destroying it. And so I can just see Corran during this time probably just blowing people's stuff up nonstop, right? And that's what it said. It's in the book. He blows other things up, other people's stuff up. He's he's taking out a bunch of ships and whatnot. Ion and you've got to imagine, Rick, you've got to imagine using those ion cannons has to disrupt electrical components and cause major electrical damage, and these people little private armies or personal boats or whatever.
Yep. It's the taser of the
I just loved that.
Fight.
I loved him working, like just owning other pirates too and beating the heck out of that one dude.
Yeah.
He destroyed that guy. I mean, he just throttled him.
Yeah. Was that the finger punch?
Because he's such an arrogant character. But like when you start to realize by the end that he's earned it. You know, like he kind of is
Rogue
just
Squadron.
that. Yeah.
So I think it's wish fulfillment for people who want to feel like they are an investigator, pilot, Jedi, pirate, Batman, all of these things. Wish fulfillment for all of it.
Is Corran a true crime podcaster? Is that what's going on?
He could do it all.
I think I'll go with I like the Jedi training because I like seeing somebody stand up to Luke. And that functioned well for me. And he did voice a lot of my criticisms with the Jedi Academy trilogy.
Word for word almost.
Yeah. So that is good. Guys, this is going to wrap it up. Any final words here on Jedi? Emily, it's been good having you back.
It's been wonderful to be back.
So did we ever have a good reason as to why Mirax was kidnapped though? Like
just for
I never got that.
Did the Invid pirates, the Jinsari, they had
a vision.
Did they ever know that Corran, that it was specific? Did they target him specifically?
I don't really recall anymore. I feel like I see that part went so fast in the book that you don't even.
I'm the one that wrote the question, which meant that I didn't understand that plot.
So I think ultimately, right? They had everybody had force visions of some sort. Everyone had a vision of some sort that took them, which is interesting that Ural also had some sort of I know where to find people. It's not where to find them, it's just when. That's like his specialty.
Interesting.
Right?
So Mirax was investigating the Invid pirates because she herself she works for New Republic Intelligence, right?
Kraken, yeah.
So she got herself in hot water there. So then you would think, why doesn't she just go to Kraken and say what was the case she was working on?
There was something with the Jinsari or Jinsarai or whatever we're calling them.
Yeah.
Where Corran was Corran was the path that they had to go, and it was either he would be their destruction or their
that's right,
their savior. And he clearly, we saw the point where I feel like he could have been the destructor, right? He was kind of dipping in he was a gray Jedi for a while with the pirates. That's why I liked it. Dang it. I knew it, Jared.
Gray Jedi.
I loved it.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're going to get pushback for that. Everybody, that was Freddie's point, not mine. If you are offended by gray Jedi, hey, Corran, he's a green pirate. Jedi. He loves green.
He's a green
Oh,
Jedi.
boy.
Yeah. We haven't even had time to talk about his lightsaber yet.
That's true. Which one?
He's adjustable, and then he had to get
that
was
one that gets slightly longer.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That was the most ridiculous part of this whole dang book.
Isn't it like an inch and a half longer?
What? It was not that much longer, and then it almost shorted out the whole dang lightsaber.
It was the difference between like a regular sword and a claymore, is what I would think.
Man.
Hey, when Corey did that inebriated Patreon event a couple of years ago, where he read portions of iJedi and would take shots whenever Corran did anything misogynistic, I sent Corey the page to read of Corran building his lightsaber. And Corey was so drunk by that point that he could not even read that page. He got a few sentences in and was like, "What even is this?" And I had to try to find that clip. He couldn't. He couldn't get through it. But
so did the Jinsari come back in Legends?
Not that I remember.
Really?
Not that I remember either.
Oh, that's a letdown.
Were they like samurai? What was the difference between them?
They were a third a tertium quid. That's for you.
So they were like they're not quite like the Jedi witches. They were almost taught in the Jedi way, but using Sith tactics.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Like
it was.
I think we got a picture of one. Do you have the picture of the Jinsari?
Yeah.
They look pretty cool in the picture. How look like samurai.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly, samurai. Because they talk about the armor, and I was like, this is a very samurai tradition, right? Interesting.
So this book has everything: blowing up ghosts,
Jedi samurai,
kidnapping wives. That's right, Jedi Batman, Jedi samurai.
Would the Jinsari be gray Jedi technically, since they were taught Jedi ways with a Sith point of view?
More so.
That does it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Well, Emily, we're about to tackle the New Jedi Order. If anybody is wanting to follow along with us at home, next book that we do, we might break it up with a comic or two along the way, but we're going to be diving in head over heels into the New Jedi Order, starting with Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore. Emily, this is a 19-book series. Are you glad that you're no longer on the show full time, or are you going to be trying to follow along at home?
Unclear. Okay, so truth be told,
look at that beautiful.
So I did start to read that actually, and I don't think I finished it. I might follow along, but truth be told, since I haven't had any homework for a while, I've gone on this really deep dive back into my home genre of fantasy.
Don't you say
books.
Star Wars? Don't you say Star Trek books? Don't you say it? Okay.
No. Sci-fi is my second language. I am originally and at the core a fantasy girl, and so I've been straight up binging. And so I think I'm almost done with my bender. So I might end up tacking on the New Jedi Order at the end.
What are you reading, Emily?
Yeah, give us some recs.
Oh my gosh, y'all, it went deep. So I saw my sister-in-law recommended A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is by Sarah J. Maas, and it's a very popular book series on Instagram and TikTok and whatnot. So anyway, it got so much press. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. It was so good, y'all. I don't buy books. I bought the boxed set almost instantly, and I've reread it 3 times. All of them 3 times. And then she also wrote, the same author wrote another series called the Throne of Glass series. And then there was Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. So I just kind of
Catwoman book.
Huh?
She wrote a Catwoman book that I read.
Did she?
That was nobody saw that one coming, did you?
And that is it for this week. Yeah, and let's just look back now.
So yeah, that is just a sampler, but it's been a variety of just
That's
I
awesome.
don't know. Back to
all right.
original.
So you know how your spouse will tell you something and you just don't listen, and then someone else tells you the exact same thing and you listen all of a sudden. This is Sarah J. Maas for me.
Is it really?
Yeah, she has all those books and loves them, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, Star Wars.
I totally underrated them. My sister-in-law told me, she's like, you have to read it, but we do not have the same taste most of the time. So I was like, okay. So I put it on hold on the library because I'm like, I'm not buying these books. And then I listened to the first one. And then I think I listened to the second one. And by then I was totally like, there's a big twist. And then it had me wanting to reread it. Wow. And then it set me on this spiral because she's written 3 different book series. And
was the twist that the lightsaber gets slightly longer?
It was a bigger twist than that, but it's definitely it's a lot of first person. So I don't know if you can handle it, Jared.
No, not interested. My wife owns all those, but I'm not. No chance. No shot.
Okay.
But good to hear that you're still out there reading books, and would love to have you join us for perhaps one of the new Jedi Order books. That could be fun. So we've got some good ones coming up this next year.
Read book 19. That's what Corey did, right?
He read book 9 of a 9-book series.
Oh, okay. Was that Fate of the Jedi then?
I actually might argue you could potentially read like Wikipedia summaries of a few books in the New Jedi Order and you'd be okay. Though I would recommend reading at least the first 5 in their entirety. We'll get to it. So if you're following along at home, pick up Vector Prime for our next roundtable. That will do it for this week. Thank you for joining us for Legends Lookback. Thank you to our incredible patrons for your support. A special thank you to Brian Dooley, Carl Sander, Michael Fry, Raymond Baczynski on the Jedi High Council, Ashley Ingalls, James T., Colton Fife, Chris Carrizo, and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command. Remember, everybody, to sub to the channel, leave us a review in your podcast platform of choice if you'd like your thoughts around the show. Our contact information can be found in the description, and we're on Twitter at Legends Look Back. Remember to keep the Utini fan code, everybody, and be a force for positivity in the fandom. May the force be with you and your spider legs.